Hello, and welcome to People's Through the HR Lens, our comprehensive market update that looks at leading HR trends impacting the Australian workforce. Hi, I am Leanne Lazarus, Recruitment Manager here at the People Brisbane office. On today's edition, we are focusing on the hot topic of what are the legal rights that come with flexible working, and are you complying with them? Once again, today we are joined by Jonathan Mamril, Director and Head of Employment Law at South Geldard Lawyers, to unpack the crucial, often misunderstood differences between office return requests and the legal right to flexible working. Do employees have a legal right to work from home? What is the employer obligation when it comes to staff requests to work from home? And what could be classified as reasonable grounds for refusal? As hybrid and remote work continue to shape the future of employment, HR and business leaders are facing new challenges in navigating legal obligations versus organizational preferences. According to Roy Morgan, 80% of workers would like the option to work from home, while 60% favor a hybrid setup. Nearly half, 49%, would be content with a mix of in-office and remote work. These preferences are clear, but how they align with employment law is not always so straightforward. In the People 2025 Annual Market Report, employees shared their concerns around the long-term effects of remote work. 65% reported a decline in spontaneous interactions. 62% cited weakened team cohesion, and 60% noticed reduced employee engagement. As more businesses consider mandating the return to work or the return to office, these findings highlight the tension between employee expectations and business outcomes. To discuss this further, we are joined today by Jonathan Mamril, Director and Head of Employment Law at South Geldard Lawyers. Welcome, Jonathan.
Leanne, great to be here as usual.
Fantastic. Well, Jonathan, we'll get straight into it. So the first question I have for you is, do all employees have the unequivocal right to make a request for flexible working arrangements?
Yeah, really good question, because we get asked this a lot. So there's two ways to look at this. Actually, there's really only one way, but I'll separate it into two. But the first way to look at it is, yes, all employees, no matter who they are and what they're doing and what industry they are, of course, can request whether to have some type of flexible working arrangement, whether that's work from home or whatever that might be. However, what creates an actual workplace right, so that's the key part, an unequivocal workplace right, is actually a little bit different. So only certain employees actually have an unequivocal right to request a flexible working arrangement. So there's a bit of a difference there.
Okay, perfect. But do all employees have a legal right to work from home?
Yeah. Okay. So I suppose that's a continuation of that previous question, because there's only certain employees that can request a flexible working arrangement. So there's basically two parts of the criteria. The first part is they've got to be a permanent employee for at least 12 months, or, and it's a little bit controversial, but a regular and systematic casual employee who has worked for the employer for at least 12 months and has a reasonable expectation of continuing to do so. Okay, so you've got to get that first criteria first. Then if you meet that first criteria, the second limb is basically, is the request in regards to the employee being pregnant, a parent, or has responsibility for a child, a carer, a person with disability, age 55 years or older, experiencing family and domestic violence, or is providing care and support to someone with involved in family and domestic violence. So that then goes into the question of that work from home issue, right? So can an employee request to work from home? And the answer is yes, they can request it. But what creates a workplace right, and therefore there are these other limbs that come off this, obligations around this for employers. what actually creates that workplace right is what the criteria talked about just then.
So on the whole employer obligations, what are their obligations when there is a request for a flexible working arrangement, such as a work from home?
Yeah, okay. So if the employee has reached that criteria, essentially they're a permanent employee and the request is for one of those few issues. Let's say they're a carer or they're caring for a school-aged child or younger, then there's a legal requirement to actually respond to the request. So the first thing is it needs to be in writing, it needs to be within 21 days, and you need to provide a reason for the approval or, if need be, the refusal. And the refusal, in particular, needs to be on reasonable business grounds. And this is where it starts to head off into some of the case law that's dealt with this already.
Okay. So let's play devil's advocate, because in HR we can. A request to work from home is refused, and an employee is requested to return to the office under a mandate. Mm-hmm. What implications be for both the employee and the employer?
Ooh, good one. Yes. So the mandate, we've probably seen that with quite a number of organisations who have brought in a return to work mandate. And by the way, flexible working arrangements aren't limited to just work from home. It's also roster flexibility, toil, remote work, roster days off. There's all types of other flexibility. Mm-hmm. But let's ground it back to your question. The obligations are basically this. So in particular, when it comes to a mandate return to work, we need to look at a couple of things. So one is the contract of employment. So a big one that actually occurred quite a bit, especially during COVID and just after COVID, was these ability to work from home and also remote work were embedded into an employment contract. So that creates potentially some contractual obligations. But if we were to put that aside and then we had a mandate to return to work and we said, hey, employees, we want to return to work, then that would be generally a reasonable lawful direction, generally. However, if the employee refuses for various reasons, and there could be many reasons that are, for example, in the realm of discrimination, but also if they requested that they work flexibly under this flexible working arrangement regime and they meet one of their criteria, then we have to then respond with a refusal or acceptance, but a refusal on reasonable business grounds. And reasonable business grounds, Leanne, include a couple of things. So the main one being, say, cost or negative impact on customer service or efficiency or productivity. And the other one, of course, is maybe need to hire more staff or the impact on other staff could be quite dramatic or quite big. So those are a couple of things you got to consider. There's many more general protections and breach of contract and dispute applications, but they're the few things that I consider.
Perfect. So, I mean, if you talk in the market and you talk to different people, there's a lot of different stories that have gone around, or not necessarily stories, but examples. We've heard a few cases where employees have been working remotely and have decided to relocate or even immigrate in some instances without updating their employers. What could this lead to, or what could happen from this perspective?
Yeah, there's actually quite a few significant cases that actually dealt with this particular type of situation. And look, there's been many, but the one that sort of comes to mind the most is probably Gregory v. Maxia. But there's quite a few others where an employee has gone off to Paris, another one's gone to work in Asia, followed their partner, worked over there, didn't really tell the employer until basically they either found out or some other reason. Basically, the courts and the commissions are pretty much on the same page when it comes to this, which is it's not up to the employee to decide that. Okay, the employer will decide your location. You have, of course, the right to request flexible working arrangements as an employee, but an employer essentially still has to dictate, because they are the employer, has to dictate where you work and where you work from. Now, you might have an argument, and very reasonable argument, very logical argument, actually even a positive argument, that you should be working from Paris or Bali or York, wherever you want to work.
Yeah.
And there may absolutely be actually quite legitimate requests, and it might be legitimate arguments. However, it's still up to the employer to decide that. And if you as an employee decide to do it unilaterally, what we call by yourself, and do it by yourself, then there's many myriads of issues. But an issue could be breach of contract. You breach your contractual obligation to the employer. And there could be other reasons as well, issues as well, because let's say you're in a HR position, or let's say an employee is in a managerial position. Are you going to be able to do the role as effectively as you would if you were still, if you were living close by or located close by, working from the office? So these are things that we consider. But generally, the courts are pretty much on the same page. It's not up to the employee to decide.
Fair enough. And look, I think when it comes to this topic, there is so much to it and there's so much to unpack. And we had the HR forum in Brisbane a couple of weeks ago, and we ran through a lot of this, and it was very informative. And people shared a lot of information, which was great. So that just really, it gives a bit of a snapshot of what we discussed. So I want to say thank you very much again, Jonathan, for joining us today and running through such important information and sharing your knowledge and wisdom in this space. And with so many changes coming through from a legislation perspective that is impacting HR and businesses, it's really appreciated. So thank you very much for your time.
Speak soon.
Our 2025 Employment and Salary Trends Report has now been released. This comprehensive report is built of thousands of survey responses from job seekers and employees across Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. It looks at the latest workplace hiring and job seeker trends and can help you and your business make more informed decisions. If you'd like a deeper dive into salaries, benefits, and workplace trends across your market, request your copy by scanning the QR code on the screen now, or click the link in the comments below. And lastly, if you are looking to grow your HR career or build on your team, I am here to help. Whether you're searching for your next opportunity or need the right talent for your business, our teams across Australia, New Zealand, and the UK have you covered. With over 10 offices, we will connect you with the right opportunities to set you up for success in 2025. Contact me, Leanne Lazarus, today at leanne@people2people.com.au or 0431 819 724. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate the opportunity to share hot topics with you. We look forward to the next edition in July.